I was just sitting around talking to some friends, and I got a message on Facebook Messenger from a cousin saying she was sitting there with her dad, which is my great uncle. And let me straighten you out there a little bit. She said he'd really like to talk to you right now. And I tell you what, when you've got a great uncle that's darn near 100 years old and he wants to talk to you, you drop everything you're doing and you talk to your great uncle. If you don't, you got some issues. So I dropped everything I was doing and talked to my great uncle on the phone. He had heard that there were some bad storms in Oklahoma yesterday, which is true. Got a couple small towns out in southeastern Oklahoma that had some pretty terrible damage, and he wanted to make sure that I was okay. We did get some heavy wind, but not super damaging wind, and we got a lot of rain out in Bethany where I live, but nothing as bad as it was in southeastern Oklahoma. One of the towns we just drove through 2 or 3 weeks ago in a previous video when we went to the Lazy Heifer Cafe. Pulled into Sulphur, Oklahoma, and went through the downtown area. That's one of the towns that the downtown area pretty well got leveled. And it was all pretty historic buildings. So there wasn't quite the engineering put into them that they put into stuff now. And they are pretty well gone. Very, very sad. But anyway, I got to talk to my great uncle. Not to sadden everybody up here. My 4 or 5 viewers here. Asked him how he was doing. He said he was feeling meaner than a snake and looking to whoop somebody. Wanted to know if I wanted to come up there and get a whooping. I told him I'm pretty sure he could still do it, so I think I'll pass. All jokes aside, I need to get up there and see him. Like I said, he's getting pretty close to 100 years old. Pretty sure he knows he's not going to be around much longer. Of course he knows, but he's probably starting to feel it. And I hope that's not why he called me. In other news, no holes, new gloves. I think I mentioned that I ordered some in the last video. I don't remember for sure if I did or not. I got them from Revzilla.com. They're Alpine Star brand. I don't remember the model. I'll put a link to them down below. I'm also gonna record the mileage on my bike when I first started wearing them to get an idea of how long they last. Of course, winter will come around and I'll probably change gloves, but we'll keep track of that too. Well, they fit my hands exactly like the Revzilla size chart said they would. They are a little bit tight, but I'm sure they'll stretch a little bit, so that's okay. I don't really have any major complaints about them yet. They feel pretty good. They do have reinforced knuckles on them, leather abrasive areas, and they are textile mostly, but not mesh, but they do have some holes in the fingers for some airflow. And it's not a hot day. It is 77 degrees right now, no humidity, and they're pretty comfortable in this temperature. And they feel like they'll be pretty comfortable in warmer temperatures. And hey, we're on the second camera today. You figured that out already since I've been swapping between them, but welcome officially to the GoPro Hero 2. It's weird, I'd used the camera to format the card that I put in it. Of course, Dad sent it with a 16 gig card, which would have been plenty of space for for what I was using it for, but I had a 256 gig card in my Hero 3, so I figured why not put it in there? And I formatted it in the GoPro, and that corrupted it. I put it back in my MacBook and formatted it for exFAT, and it works just fine. Or I assume it does. It worked when I tested it. We're just going to assume right now that it's working for this too. Another bit of random. The wife was heading off to her mom's earlier and texted me as she was backing out of the driveway, said her garage door wouldn't shut. I went out there and looked at it and noticed that the chain that operates off the overhead door opener was hanging really low. I got the ladder out, climbed up there, and the chain had popped off the sprocket. Slipped it back on there and operated the door, and it came about halfway up and it snapped off the sprocket again. Climbed up there again, and the sprocket was no longer there. The shaft that holds the sprocket had snapped off, and the sprocket was just hanging there on the side. Luckily though, that seems to be a pretty common issue, and they make a replacement kit for the entire worm gear and sprocket shaft that's only $17 on Amazon. So I got that ordered up. It ought to be here Tuesday. Today is Sunday, and we'll just operate the door manually until then. And hopefully I'll never have to deal with that again, at least on that overhead door. We got two of them though, but I'm glad it wasn't going to cost me an entire new overhead door opener. I'm sure those aren't cheap these days. I don't know if you can just buy a new motor and hook it up to your existing track or not. You probably got to buy the whole new thing, the way they make things now. But I can't be mad at 17 bucks. Another short one for today. Like I said, crummy weather most of last week and this weekend, so no big rides. I think we're supposed to have crummy weather again next weekend, so probably no big rides then either. Then we're gonna start getting, it's getting into May, we're gonna start getting into nasty, hot, humid, crappy weather. I will still ride. I'm not afraid to sweat, and I'm sure Dwayne will still go with me. Getting pretty close to home. Gonna go get something to eat. Appreciate you all riding along. Again, I'll tell you about the gloves in the description, and we'll see you next time.